All right, so let's start here. Hi, I'm Jacob. Nice to meet you. Um, so, like we said with a lot of other things, we're going to start with the Coppermind. The Coppermind is the Brandon Sanderson wiki. You want to go to this one. There's also a fandom page. The fandom page hasn't been updated in a while and has lots of problems. This isn't perfect, but it is very good. So, I'm going to try to answer your questions mostly in order, but we are going to start with some of these basics. So, first off, the Cosmere. The Cosmere is the shared universe where the books all take place. So this is where Elantris, Mistborn, Warbreaker, Stormlight, these are all part of the same thing. You probably know this already. In the beginning was Adonalsium. And the word was with Adonalsium, and Adonalsium was with the word, and the same was the beginning, blah, blah, blah. Adonalsium is basically the god of the Cosmere. It created the Cosmere, it powers the Cosmere. It used to be the supreme all, end all, be all of the Cosmere. Sometime 10 to 15,000 years ago, a pivotal moment, a group of people got together, and these, when we say people, we do not necessarily mean humans. There were humans and other species involved, got together and broke the power of Adonalsium into 16 pieces. These 16 pieces are called shards. There's a list of all their names. If we go back over here, we can look at the shards. And there are 16 of them, and we have 15 of their names, and we're still waiting on the 16th one. Now, like it says right here, the shards are not God, they're pieces of God, blah, blah, blah. Adonalsium was infinite, and each shard is also infinite, because infinity divided by anything still equals infinity. These shards, we go back here, can be further broken up into splinters. So shards are the 16 chunks of Adonalsium's power that each have different names: honor, ruin, endowment, whatever. And then splinters are further broken down pieces of the shards. So that's some of the fundamental Cosmere physics we get into. Um, these splinters can be physical. They can also be cognitive, which goes into realmatic theory. The Cosmere is broken up into three realms: the physical realm, the cognitive realm, or the realm of the mind, and the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm is kind of like the Platonic ideal. It is the dimension and point where everything is all still together in perfect unity and harmony. Don't confuse those with the names of the shards. Uh, but so different realms. So splinters. You did ask some questions about splinters, and I'll get to them first. I'm sorry, I'm not necessarily going in order. Number three, are there actually spren on other planets? Spren are splinters. They are pieces of honor and cultivation and odium. So spren as a thing, they are representations of Adonalsium's power made up of different types of investiture, the matter of, or the magical matter of the Cosmere. So you have things that are, so if we want to think back about some more Cosmere metaphysics, we have physical things, we have magical things, and we have energy. So we don't just have an E equals MC squared. We also can convert things between uh, investiture and the physical, or investiture and energy and whatnot. So there are not spren on other planets, but there are things that are like spren. So you are right. Aeons of Elantris are like spren. They are also these divine cognitive beings. If you've gotten there, the AVR of Six of the Dusk are also similar. They are physical beings that have a cognitive empowerment. Um, and the shades on Threnody are kind of similar. If you've read Shadows of Silence in the Forests of Hell, um, and there are other things that are like Spren, and to the Rosharans, all of these would be considered Spren. Along with that, so a Nile bond Nile is the ancient Rosharan, which means it's the singer word, for a bond with divinity. So to a Rosharan, the Aeon bonds are Nile bonds. The AVR bonds are Nile bonds. All of these kinds of things are Nile bonds because a Nile bond is just a bond between a physical being, a human, a Parshendi, whatever, and this cognitive construct. So yes, there were Nile bonds with singers before humans arrived. There are also Nile bonds between the native Rosharan. Where is it? The native Rosharan and even some of the non-native Rosharan animals. So the spren bonds that let great shells become great, or the bonds of the Taina of the Reshi Isles, or the bonds between Rhyshadium and Music Spren, or the bonds between Larkin and Lux Spren, or the bonds between Skyles and Lux Spren, or whatever else. Any connection, any bond between a physical being and a cognitive being is a Nile bond. To get into that some more, so let's go back to the very beginning. So Adonalsium is shattered, the power is broken up into 16 pieces, and these 16 pieces called Shard make an agreement that they are going to go off on their own, and each one will get to be its own little god, and they'll get to do what they want. So that's the agreement. They're each going to go be their own gods, their own pieces of God, and will leave each other alone. Now, some of the shards break this from the very get-go. Some of these are Preservation and Ruin. Preservation and Ruin are like, hey, we want to go be gods, but the two of our power sets individually don't work very well to be gods, because Preservation won't let anybody do anything, and Ruin will just destroy everything, and that would be a sucky way to be a god. So these two decide to get together and use their powers together to make a planet, and then be the gods of that planet. And that's what the Mistborn's about. So these two shards decide to get together and do this together. Honor and Cultivation were married. Are married. Depends on how you look at it. So the vessels, the mortal-ish beings that hold the power, were husband and wife, and so they didn't really follow the rules and go out together. So they went to Roshar together, and they worked together on this world that was already made. Odium. So that's the Roshar shards are not opposite. How did the different planets get different amounts of shards? That's a lot of question. So how did they get the different amounts of shards? The shards kind of decided that themselves. There's a lot of metaphysics here that doesn't make sense. It may or may not be cleared up. But basically, all investiture that existed throughout the Cosmere was Adonalsium. So at the time of the Shattering, that investiture became aligned with one of the shards. So there's a chicken and an egg conundrum here. Did different planets get associated with different shards because those shards came to those planets, or did different shards get drawn to specific planets because the investiture there was related to the shards at the time of the Shattering? We don't know. I personally think that Honor and Cultivation were drawn to Roshar because it was the planet and the magic system most aligned to the intent of their shards, but we really, really don't know. All we know is, it does not make a lot of sense. Like some people were telling you, there's the words of Brandon. There's a really, really long word of Brandon about this. If you wanted to look it up, I just have this bookmarked because it makes it a lot easier. wob.covermind.com. If you want to look at this one, there are this is a very long thing about that I was just talking about. So yeah, fun times. So there's that. Let me come and look anymore. All right. So honor and cultivation go to the Rosharan system. It's one of many little star systems in this shared universe, galaxy, whatever, known as the Cosmere. And the Rosharan realm, the Rosharan system, not realm, because realm's the wrong thing. Probably the best thing for you to read, if you haven't already, is Arcanum Unbounded. Arcanum Unbounded is a collection of short stories. You may have already read some of the short stories, but it also has books. It also has little explanations by one of the characters named Chris that goes into the real world physics, the planetary systems, blah, 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 of background things. So the Rosharan system is a solar system, and in the Rosharan system, we can get this to be bigger. Get bigger. We have 10 planets. Everything on Roshar. No, I don't want to download the file. I want to just look at it. Woo, that gets bigger. There are 10 planets. Ashen, Roshar, Braze. These are the ones that really matter. And then, well, then there's another 10 planets. So there's 13. And here you can see the Rosharan lettering system. Look, that's 1 through 10. Fascinating. So Ashen, Roshar, and Braze. Ashen is a planet that humans were on earlier. We don't know a lot of details on how they got there, whatever else. Roshar is the planet where Stormlight Archive takes place. Here's the weird moons. And then Braze. So somehow or other, Ashen has humans on it. Roshar was created directly by Adonalsium for some as of yet unknown purpose. And then Braze is a basically lifeless rock. Humans are here. Humans start experimenting with surges, with the magical powers of creation, and humans blow up Ashen. They don't blow it up, but there's some kind of environmental catastrophe. The planet still exists. There are still humans on it. You can get into that in other details. So humans figure out a way that they can travel through the cognitive realm through what they call Shadesmar. Shadesmar is basically just the Old English. It means soul lake, Shades, Smear, and which is just another way of saying it's this place of souls. And they move from here to there. There are already people on Roshar. These are the ancient singers. They have been on Roshar since Roshar was created by Adonalsium at some point in the we don't know when. They worship honor and cultivation. The humans, we don't really know who they worship, but we know they were influenced somehow by Odium. Odium is going around from system to system, killing shards for what it believes are perceived offenses against the Order. So it went against the shards in Elantris and destroyed them. It went after a shard called Ambition and destroyed it. It's going after honor and cultivation to fight them. We don't know all the details there. But yes, humans go from Ashen to Roshar through the cognitive realm, and a war starts between humans and the Parshendi. The Parshendi initially invited the humans. They agreed to let the humans come, and somebody breaks the truce, somebody breaks the pact. Odium is definitely involved, and people get realigned. So the honor and cultivation are the original gods, the singers. The humans don't really worship Odium as a god, but they are involved with him. Humans come here, and a war starts between humans and singers, as well as honor and cultivation versus Odium. And that's where some of your other questions come in. So do the Tranquiline Halls exist? Kind of. The Tranquiline Halls are the legendary version of Ashen. All right, and then Braze. So Braze is the realm where the Odium's forces were trapped later on, after this war begins. So in Vorin mythos, Ashen is the Tranquiline Halls, and Braze is damnation. So this is where Odium's forces are. This is where humanity came from. This is the place where everything all gets fought out now. I hope this is not super confusing. Over the course of, so let's go back to the thing. There is an agreement made between Odium and cultivation and honor. which is not the same as the Oath Pact, but they are related somehow. I like to refer to one as the Shard Pact and the other as the Oath Pact, but that's just Jacob's personal whatever. It's not really, I mean, I guess it's headcanon technically. The Oath Pact, the Shard Pact binds honor, cultivation, and odium to the Rosharan planetary system. Remember, odium's been going around from realm to realm, world to world, killing shards that he doesn't like. There's more to it than that, but that's a good summation. And honor and cultivation band together and use their powers to get odium stuck on the Rosharan, in the Rosharan system. So he is now bound to the system. The Oath Pact is a similar thing on the physical-ish side, dealing with the people. So just as Honor's power as a shard and his ability to bind has connected odium to the Rosharan system, the power of honor and cultivation shared between the heralds creates a cage which basically locks the fused odium's creations on Braze and out of Roshar. So the Oath Pact has been in place for 8,000 years ish, 7,000. It's been a really, really long time. There's also a really fantastic thing, the Cosmere Timeline 2.0. I can post this in here. It's basically all the details we have about how all the timelines of everything all line up. So pretty cool. That's neither here nor there. So let me get back to your questions. Sometime over the last long time, honor and cultivation fight just like the heralds and the humans and the singers and the everyone else fight. And honor and cultivation, honor is wounded. And you make a question here: is honor dead the way preservation Fuzz is dead and Arcano Unbound or in a different way? Yes and no. So preservation, it takes shards a long time to die, right? We see Fuzz slowly unraveling over the course of, well, you say you've read Arcano Unbound. So I should have made this connection earlier. So yeah, look back at those essays because they answer a lot of these questions. Honor was injured in the same way preservation kind of committed a very slow suicide, but honor took thousands of years to die. And we don't know when Honor the Vessel died, but we do know that Honor the Vessel is now dead. Sometime in the last 4,500 years, Honor actually died, but Honor was dying for a very long time. A much longer time than preservation / Fuzz was dead. And he is now dead. At his death, his power broke up more. And a lot of his power went from being in this shard creation, and it kind of supercharged the Stormfather, who is one of these splinters, and the cognitive shadow, basically the soul, for lack of a better word, of Tanavast, the vessel, the Fuzz of Honor became a part of the Stormfather. So it's still dead, but it's a different dead, if that makes sense. So then let's get back up to, okay, so why are the singers connected to Odium if he wasn't originally from Roshar? Why weren't the singers the natural pair to Honor, Sprint, and Cultivation, blah, blah, blah. And singers were there originally. Go away. I'll get back to you later. So humans did not form Nile bonds with Voidspren. It actually looks like Voidspren, at least Ulim, one of the few sentient Voidspren we've seen other than the fused themselves, Ulim appears to be a human initially. If you're looking at the flashbacks, Ulim takes a human physical form, not a singer form. It looks like Ulim is basically a human ghost that's been empowered by Odium to serve as agents, in the same way that the fused are Parshendi ghosts. These are the cognitive remnants given form by Odium's power. But no, we do not have any indications that Nile bonds existed for humans before they came to Roshar. Why were the singers connected to odium? So that goes back to that there's some kind of a war between humans and singers in Roshar's history. We do not know all the details. We know that they all got along at first when they arrived. We don't know exactly what happened to lead to the war. There are some hints. Potentially, the story in The Girl Who Looked Up is the thing that humans were given kind of their own land and reservation, and they expanded beyond it, and that caused conflict, but we don't know all the details. But honor and cultivation were trying to help the humans out, trying to help keep peace, and odium created conflict and war, and somehow or other a war got going. Now the honor spren. So there are already spren on Roshar before humans get there. There are already bonds between the singers and the spren before humans get there. But when humans get there, humans are they have a different mentality than the singers do. And it seems to be from epigraphs and what we learn in Rao and Shonai and Venli's flashbacks, the humans are have a much wider variety and are just much more, I don't want to say creative, but they have a more cognitive experience than the singers do. And so these spren, which have always existed, start to be turned and changed by their interactions with the people. So honor spren and cultivation spren are not the only types of spren, are not exactly directly aligned with the two shards. If we look back at, so in the first couple books, we have where is it? There is the chart of surges and spren and stuff. Where's to show me the chart? You silly thing. These are all from the chart. We'll go back to BrandonSanderson.com. If you're an audiobook listener, these are all on the Sanderson page. I've got to go get ready soon. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So all the art and everything, that's the Voidbringers one. Where's the... Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. All right, so the Way of Kings. We've seen this before, yes. These are each of the 12 or the 10 orders of whatever, and then these are their respective heralds. Yes, these up here are ones that are mostly honor. These down here are ones that are mostly cultivation. And the two that are most aligned with honor and cultivation are not honor spren or windrunners and cultivation spren edge dancers, but are in fact bondsmiths right here associated with Ishar and most aligned with honor. Talks about this in Words of Radiance, or not Words of Radiance, Rhythm of War, and Truth Watchers. The Mist spren are those most aligned with cultivation. These are called honor spren, these are called cultivation spren, and then the other ones we have, but all of these are basically different alloys of honor and cultivation. They are not purely one or the other, as far as we know. So, yoink. So it's not that they're honor spren from honor and cultivation spren from cultivation. They are all a mix of the two. They do not have more power than one or the other. They just have different power because of the way that the magic system works. However, and now they all also have part of odium, because odium has become, over the last however many thousand years, 8,000 years or so, a part of the Rosharan ecosystem. This seems to be why. Hang on, I had an alarm that just went off. It's telling me I'm talking for way too long. Hush. So we don't really know the details, but one thing or the other, and this is probably part of the reason why Dead Eyes now exist, because something has happened to break the magic, and it's involved with odium. We don't know all the differences. So, over the last 4,500 years, why was Dalanar chosen to receive the visions? The Spren are connected still to the remnants of honor and cultivation, as well as potentially to odium, and they know, even if they don't know they know it, but they have a sense that things are getting worse, and that the Oath Pact is about to come into play. I got distracted from the Oath Pact. So they didn't know that the Everstorm was coming. Well, some of them did, but they knew that they were getting to the point where Talonal, one of the 10 heralds, was getting weak and would no longer be able to hold the Oath Pact together. The Oath Pact is not broken. The Oath Pact, this promise, this bond between the heralds and the fused, is not broken. It's never been broken, and you are right that the Everstorm is a way for the fused to get around the Oath Pact. We learned that from Rhythm of War. So good catch there. A lot of people don't catch that. So yes, you are correct here. It is because of what the Singers did and what Ulam did that gives them a back door through, even though the Oath Pact is not broken. So good catch. So why was Dalinar chosen? We don't know. There have been several suppositions here. I think they're right, because Dalinar was trying to do bondsmithy stuff. He was trying to unite the people. He was trying to prepare the world. And the Spren knew through some medical physical thing because of their connection to Shadesmar. On the other side, the Spren can tell that bad things are happening. Remember that Ulam talks about how they've been building the storm for centuries in the cognitive realm. The Spren have probably gotten some inklings that something was wrong on the cognitive side. Dalinar and Gavilar aren't the only ones chosen to receive the visions. So if we go back here to things other people had said, a lot of them pointed you towards the epigraphs, right? The epigraphs are those little sentences that start out the different sections. And he does these for all of these and talks about where they come from. One of the epigraphs in Taravangian's diagram talks about how the Spren know that the Soul of Stones, or whatever, Talonal, is beginning to crack. So they know that Talonal is weakening, and therefore the Oath Pact will soon release the people. But there are also, in the very first Way of Kings, there are death rattles collected by the Silent Gatherers. And one of these is this one. That chanting those singing those raspy voices, Katak, these are months and years, or dates and years, whatever they are. Reports had seen strange dreams during high storms during the last 2 years. So Dalinar is not the only one who is getting these visions at the beginning. Gavilar seems to have. This random middle-aged Potter seems to have. We don't know who else seems to have. But somehow or other, the Spren know that this is coming, and the Stormfather is following these instructions imprinted on him by honor to prepare the world for the next one. I think we've answered most of it. Whee! 9 and 10, we'll get to those. So, did Rashadium come from Roshar originally? No. No mammals. Only, there's lots of jokes on this page about crabs. All of the Rosharan native species are crab-ish. They are all, as it seems, exoskeleton-y creatures. Horses were brought by people. Minks were brought by people. Sky eels are in a weird realm where they don't seem to have evolved, but I can't think of why humans would bring them. But one way or the other, sky eels are now part of the Rosharan system. So minks, humans, horses, strawberries, birds, all that kind of stuff was brought with humans to Roshar. One other interesting thing is the human exodus of Ashen to Roshar is the largest and most significant migration of humans to Roshar, but it's not the only one. There has been at least one other migration of humans to Roshar. That's where the eerie, the weird, creepy golden people come from. So yeah, why did they just breed horse in large amounts? I think somebody else already answered this. Roshar's ecosystem is not conducive to foraging animals. There are pigs, but that's about it. Horses, there's no grass, right? Like there's not grass that horses can eat in most of Roshar like there is on most of other planets. So yes, humans eat a lot of crustaceans because that's what is around. You can only grow Earth-like things in Shin, in the land of Shinovar, way off to the side. So lurgs are basically spiders, kind of ish spider frogs. Um, they have an exoskeleton. Some of the larger creatures might have actual skeletons, not just exoskeletons, or they're both. We don't really know these details. So Rosharan animals have physical hearts as well as these gem hearts that aren't really hearts in the way we think of hearts. They're hearts in a more philosophical way because they hold the investiture of the animal. Really, the existence of a gem heart is what tells you whether something is a Rosharan native or a brought animal. Humans don't have gem hearts, for instance, but Parshendi do, Gumfrems do, all that kind of stuff. There's also, this might be good for you too. There are, in addition to all the rereads, when they were getting ready to release the Guide to Roshar. Yeah, there's several things on here about Tor that will tell you more about how does this actually make sense and how do these things all fit together, in case you're wondering. All right. So yeah, we talked about the epigraphs. We showed you where to see that. So let's get back to noms, dons, and whatever. So this is politics. Everything in Roshar is based on the number 10, right? In the same way that everything around Mistborn is based on the number 16. The nons and the dons are, honestly, this is probably one, they're just the different ranks of people. So nons and dons. Yeah. The dons are the 10 ranks of light eyes, going from king, high prince, general, battalion, company, captain, blah, 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 blah. Remember, these are only Vorin things, so these really only apply to Alethi and Vedans. Everybody else has different rankings. And then we have the dark eyes, and the non-system is the same thing between the dark eyes, except for that the highest light eyes are like down here already, and then the dark eyes are under them. So 10 different ranks of light eyes. You move up and down depending on, you can move within the system, because if you become a lot of money or you rank higher as a soldier, you will move up, and you can't move all the way up here, but becoming a shard bearer also automatically makes you a battalion lord, makes you the fourth don, blah, blah, blah. In the non-system, it just depends on how much money you have, what kind of a career you're working in, etc. So that is much of the non-Dawn system. It's just a little thing to add flavor to the world. Why are people like that? If the Brightest were descendants of the Ross Radiance, why did they get more power if the Radiance were reviled? That's a great question. It might not necessarily be that they were descendants of the Radiance. That seems to be the case from one of Witt's comments in the end of an epilogue. It might have just been that they were the ones with shard blades and passed the shard blades down through the colors, or through the family. But you have to remember that they don't really hate the Radiance. The hatred of the Radiance doesn't really seem to appear until sometime in the last 1,500 years, and the Recreance was 4,500 years ago. The written history of Roshar is older than the written history of Earth. So we need to be accounting not just for a couple hundred years of stuff, but thousands and thousands of years of things. So the Lost Radiance and the Recreants were about 4,500 years ago. And the feeling of being betrayed by the Knights Radiance and betrayed by the Vorin Church even doesn't happen until 1,000, 1,500 years ago. So that's why the light eyes aren't a lowercase, most likely. And how do they keep track of who is who? Well, the light eyes, really. That's there. Nobody really has IDs, and a dark eye could travel somewhere and pretend to be higher down than they are, except for that. If by your dawn is basically established by how much money you have, and if you don't have any money, traveling from place to place in this very dangerous, not human focused world where storms can pop up out of nowhere and kill you super easily is really difficult to do. So if you can travel at all, you are probably already of a high dawn. Did Dark Eyes have more rights than Ska? Some of them did. There are within the Dark Eyes, and it talks about this on the Dark Eyes pages, the upper levels of Dark Eyes do have what's called the right of travel. They are citizens. Ska do not. Ska are all slaves, or are all supposed to be slaves, according to the way the philosophy is set up to work. So mostly, Skas are more slaves than most Dark Eyes. But there is a lot of good comparisons there. I think that answers everything. That was a lot of questions. You did have some good thoughts, connections already. And I think that's it. So, yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day. And how do I turn this thing off? End. Bye.